So it is currently 11:34 p.m. So I'll be right back.
12 seconds later.
Okay, so I'm back. It took less than a second. And I'm just gonna get started with what we're doing. So in today's video, we're just going to learn about form elements. So what form elements really are, they elaborate more on what we did last video. In last video, what we really just did was we just set up a form. So this video, we're going to be learning about the different elements that you can elaborate more onto your form and what you can put into it. So first, we're going to talk about the input elements. This is a completely separate video, but I just want to include it in this video. It will be a video done in the future. So it's displayed in several arrays, depending on the type attribute. So like f name, l name, text init, those are all different types of type attributes. So there are many that I will do on a video in the future. So first, I want to just set up my HTML, my body. Big thing. After that, I want to set up a form. We need to set up a form. And then let's make it action underscore page.php. And that's how our form will be set up. PHP is another coding language that we will not really involve now. I hope to do it sometime in the future. So let's add a couple of spaces and let's like label for, and then let's make it first name. F name is the text type attribute for first name. So let's say first name. So we're pretty much doing what we did in the last video. And if you haven't checked it out, be sure to click the I on the right hand corner and it will be there. So let's finish it with the label and then let's do a break. Often I've been asked why we do a break, and it's because the code's not completely finished and we still need to do it here. So yeah, that's why. So after that, we'll just need to put in the input type. In this case, it's text, and then we need to do the ID. The ID is first name. The name is as well as it's also first name, and then let's see, and then just end it there and add two breaks. And then we need to add a submit button. So let's add a submit, and then let's that just becomes value. And then as of there, we can just end the form. So that's just pretty much the most basic way of doing a form. So let's go form elements .html. Make sure it's under .html in all files, because that is just how we can access it. And then we'll save it, go back, it's right there, and as you see, it has given it right there, and we can just simply fit in what we want. So that's pretty much just a preview of and I did forget to end this here. So yeah, like I said, that is just pretty much a review of something that I will do in the future. It's just a preview, not a review, just a preview. Okay, next we're going to go into what we're actually doing, which is first the select element. What this does, it's a drop-down list, and you get to choose out of one of the drop-down lists. So we will need these. So let's say I'll add like a couple spaces, and then we'll say label. What do we? Let's make it meals. And then after that, it's gonna say choose a meal. And then what should I do? And then end the label. And then, so pretty much what I'm doing is that I'm creating a category called meals. You can add whatever category you want. So meals, cars, types of jewelry, all that kind of stuff. I'm just doing meals for now. And then the select ID is going to be meals, and the name is going to be meals. So whatever comes here is what will come here. You're just basically telling the program what these are, like how they will like do it, I guess I could call it. And then let's just close it from there. And then let's add a couple of spaces and then add what we want to put in the drop down. And when we use the option tag, we will use the option tag for the values for what's in the drop down. So that's what the whole point of using the option tag is for. So the first thing I'm going to do is breakfast. Option, let's end it there. And then after that, we're going to add lunch. Let's make that lunch. And then I'm going to add dinner. And then option value for is dessert. And then let's close it. So those are the 4 things that will appear in the drop down menu. And then lastly, we will need to end it with the select. And then we'll make the input type submit, because we do need to create a submit. So here's what happens. It already says breakfast here by default, but if we go down, we get to choose lunch, we get to choose dinner, we get to choose dessert. So that's pretty much how that works. Next is going to be about the size attribute. What this size attribute really does is that it specifies the number of elements or the number of options that will show in the dropdown. So let's say if we wanted to make the size 2. What this does is that only 2 of the options will show in the dropdown. And I did not mean to do that. So only 2 of the options will show here for you. You'll then have to scroll down or scroll up to view the others. We can change this to any number. So if we make it 4, we can see all 4 of them. So we can see all of them. If we make it 3, then we see 3 of them. And then if we see 1, or if we see, so you get the gist. So whatever number we put here is how many we can see there at the start. So along with this, we have this thing called the multiple attribute. So what the multiple attribute really does is that it allows you to select multiple things within the dropdown. So all we just have to do is just type in multiple, and then we'll save it, and then we'll reload it. So as you see here, what ends up happening, you get to click multiple things, but if you click them, it will just keep on switching, which is why we have the control key or command key if you're on Mac. So hold down the control or command key and then keep clicking, and as you see, it will click on all the ones you're clicking while holding the control key. So that's how the multiple attribute works. Next is going to be about the text area element. What the text area element does is that it gives you like a box to put your text inside. This box can be changed on the size, and it can be put in a completely different array depending on the rows and columns. So let's go in and let's clear the body, and let's say we'll do text area. Let's say name. Let's make it message. rows 10, and then columns, I'll say 30 would work. And then let's make it breakfast is the most important meal of the day. You get that, viewers? Always eat your breakfast. So let's end that with a text area. And then once that, we then just add 2 breaks. And then we'll add an input type for submit. So we'll add a submit button. And then finally, we'll just end the form. And as you see, it says breakfast is the most important meal of the day. You can even change it and edit it. But like I said with the rows and columns, these determine how big or how small the box is. You can change that. So like, let's say if we make this 20, let me make this like 50. It will show a 20 by 50 box. That's how that works. Okay, and next is the button element. This doesn't really, you don't have to do it within the form, but I'm doing it within the form. So all I'm just gonna do is just gonna add a button type, and then let's assign it as a button. And then when we click it, on click, and then alert, let's say are you sure you want to submit your answers? And then let's end the quotes, and then let's say submit, and then let's end it. So from there we can save it, and then we can reload. So here the submit button shows, and then when we click on it, it says, are you sure you want to submit your answers? So, which comes to what I'm trying to say next. So this is what happens when you click on it. So this is the text that will show when you click on it. That's why it says on click. And then this is what will show on the button. Okay, and all that we have left are the field set, the data list, and the output. So what the field set element is, it just groups the data. It kind of gives like a border within the form. So let me just, I did the form. This is just the same thing we did last video, but we are just instead adding like a kind of border to it. And then that also comes along with the legend tag. What the legend tag is that it kind of like puts the text around the border. So let's say that as legend. Let's do a form. And then let's say, and then let's end it as a legend. And then after that, we will label it. Let's label it as first name, and then let's add a break. And then let's do an input type. Let's do a submit. No, maybe not. Let's make this text. How about that? And then let's make the ID first name, name first name, and let's make the value, so we're gonna call it kids. Break. Now let's label it as the last name. So So we're just repeating the same process but for the last name. And then the name is the last name. And the value is and then input type. Let's make it submit. Let's make the value as submit. Okay, and then let's end it from there. And then let's save it and reload. So it's going to be a form and it's going to have a border, which is exactly what Fieldset does. It creates a border. And then here we can edit what we want to put and stuff. But yeah, all it really does is creates a border, kind of groups related data together. So next is the data list element. What this does is that it kind of specifies list of predefined options for an input element. It just basically gives a drop down list, a lot similar to the submit function. So let's get rid of all this and let's add an input list. Let's make this browsers. So I'm just going to list several different types of browsers. And let's say data list ID is browsers. And then let's make an option value as Google. And by the way, for your option values, it needs to be at least 4. I don't understand why, but usually when I do it, it never works unless you have at least 4. So be sure you have at least 4 when you're putting in your option value. So, and then option value, YouTube, and then value. And then let's end the data list from there. So what will happen is that when we save it and we reload it, it will have it here and then it'll already give you some options that you can choose from. So let's say we can just choose this or we can just put something, but those are just predefined options that are already there. Lastly, we have the output element. So what this does is that it's just like math and it gives a result of a calculation. So let's get rid of everything in here. So let's say on input, make the x dot value parse a dot value. So this code is a lot more complex. So let's make it parse int b dot value, and then let's end the quotes there. Let's do that. And then let's make that 0. And input type, let's say range. And let's make the ID A. Let's make the name A. And the value, I'm going to say about a 50. And then 100 plus. So what it really is, it's like a, I guess you can say, it's like a range, I'd say. Let me finish and then I'll kind of describe it. And then let's say input type, let's make it a number. Let's make it B. Let's make the name B. And the value will be 50. And then let's make that equals. And then lastly, output, name, let's make it X for AB, and then let's just end it with an output. And then along with 2 breaks, and then let's just say input type submit. So when we save this and we reload it, what it does is that it kind of gives us this sort of number line thingy, and it will do calculations pretty much for us. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So that is just it for today's video. We have learned about several different stuff that you can incorporate within your form. So be sure to check out some other videos, and also be sure to check out the HTML playlist. And if you haven't seen the previous upload, which is how you can set up an HTML form, once again, click the I on the right hand corner. Be sure to subscribe, like, and post comment. Also, follow my Insta.